the subject, this is the syllabus for the course. For in the group A, as you can see, yes, is the writing clear? Can you see the syllabus? Yes. Okay. First, group A consists of calculus of functions of one variable. There we need to study some theorems, Leibniz theorem, then Taylor's expansion, Maclaurin's expansion, then fundamental theorem of integral calculus, then infinite series, that is convergence test, divergence test, etc. Then after you study the calculus of functions of one variable, we will move on to calculus of several variables, that is including the partial derivatives. That is, a function is depending upon two or more independent variables. That is regarding the partial differentiation and derivatives, and depending upon that you need to solve equations and find which point is maxima, which point is minima, and there we will define one more thing, that is the saddle point, and then move on to Lagrangian multipliers and finally the multiple integrals. So these are the sections which we are considering involves the differential equations, that is calculus of one variable and calculus of several variables. After that, we will move on to the vector calculus, that is the scalar and vector. Yes, can you just give me the difference between scalar and vector? Can you just give me the difference between scalar and vector? What is the difference of scalar and a vector? Anyone? What does a scalar indicate? Yes, do you know? What is the difference, fundamental difference between a scalar and a vector? No, scalar means it is having only magnitude. Okay, it is having only magnitude. Whereas a vector means it is having both magnitude and also direction. Vector will be having both magnitude and direction. For example, if we say some work is done or energy, 20 joules of energy we say, right? It does not have any direction. Whereas if I am telling about velocity, the velocity will have a magnitude, say 20 meter per second in this particular direction. Understood? So if anything which is having both magnitude and also direction, that we call as a vector. Clear? For example, if I am telling that if I am moving from point A to point B and I am moving through this path, okay, I am moving like this, and the total distance traveled is, say, distance traveled from here to here may be 20. Like that I can say 20 kilometers total distance traveled. But if I am telling about the shortest distance between A and B, which path I should take? Shortest distance means I need to connect A and B by a shortest distance means I need to connect position A and position B by a straight line, isn't it? By a straight line. That, yes, right. By a straight line. That is the shortest route. For this might be, say, 12 kilometers. For this is having a particular direction. Am I right? This shortest distance is having a particular direction joining A and B. Whereas this distance covered, it is not having a particular direction. It is a total summation. Therefore, I can classify the total distance traveled, and this shortest distance is known as, can you give me the name for shortest distance between 2 points? Shortest distance between 2 points, that is known as the displacement. Okay, that is known as a displacement. Therefore, distance is an example of which quantity, scalar or vector? Distance is an example of which quantity? Is the distance traveled having any specific direction? It is not having any specific direction, right? It is just randomly placed, whereas the displacement, it will be in this direction itself because it is the shortest or the straight line between A and B. Therefore, displacement is a type of Displacement is a type of which quantity? Scalar or vector? Is displacement having any magnitude? Does displacement have any magnitude? Yes, it is having a magnitude here, isn't it? 12 kilometer is the value of this displacement. Distance is also having magnitude, but it does not have a particular direction. Clear? Is it clear? So can you just give me how can you classify distance and displacement? Displacement is an example of scalar or vector. Which one? Displacement is an example of scalar or vector. Is Muhammad and Arshad are able to hear? Yes, in the case of displacement, as you can see, shortest distance will be only one, right? Shortest distance will be only one, and that will be in this direction. Only one direction will be there. Am I right? Between 2 points A and B, only one line will be the shortest distance, and that is having a particular direction. Understood? Whereas if I am choosing another path and moving like this, that is along first one was along ACB, second was ADB, and here the distance travelled may be say 25 kilometer. Is the distance travelled through path ACB and ADB the same? Is the magnitude of ACB and ADB the same? Depending upon the path, the distance travelled also is different. Are you getting me? Depending upon the path, the distance travelled is also different. Whereas when you are considering displacement between any 2 points, it is only one and only one displacement is there. Displacement means the shortest distance. Got it? Okay, what about Arshad? Are you getting me? Okay. Therefore, this is... Yes, Arshad, are you able to hear me? Hello? Yes, Muhammad, is my voice clear? Okay, I think some problem is there at Arshad's end. Okay, therefore that is regarding magnitude and direction, which we call it as a vector, and the only magnitude means scalar. We will discuss that in detail when we are going to that section. Okay, therefore in the vectors calculus, we will define some surface integral, volume integral, line integral. What is the difference between all these? We will try to have a physical interpretation of these so that you will be able to understand the physical significance of these relations. Just by hearting this equation does not give you an insight to the subject. When you are learning it, you should apply it physically. That is, what is the physical significance of this line integral, surface integral, how they are connected with the volume integral, and these are all given by these theorems, Stokes theorem and Green's theorem, etc. Okay. Then, yes, next one is the linear algebra, which is mostly connected with matrix formulation. Have you studied matrix anywhere? Have you studied matrix? Matrix formulation of matrix. That is, we are just representing the total thing in terms of rows and columns. That is, say A11, A12, 1, 3, etc. A21, A22, 2, 3. Yes, A31, 32, 3, 3. So these forms a 3 by 3 matrix, right? It is a 3 by 3 matrix. 3 by 3 indicates that 3 rows 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay. If it is a 2 by 3 means, how can I write 2 by 3 means first one represents the number of rows. Okay, first one represents the number of rows and the second one represents the number of columns. Clear? Therefore, if a 2 by 3 matrix means it will be of this form: A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23. Here there are 2 rows are there. That is the horizontal thing is known as the rows. And the vertical spacing is known as the columns. Got it? Therefore, can you just tell me what is A23 or A21? Which is this element? This element is in which row? A21 means this element is in which row? So first digit indicates the row, second digit indicates the column. First digit indicates the row and second digit indicates the column. Therefore, it will be in which row and which column? It will be in the second row, right? Second row. And what about the column? In which column it will be? It will be in the first, second or third? First, second or third? Which column it will be? A21. A21 will be in the first column, right? First column. Okay. Right. Now if I am just indicating other thing, that is, if I am just giving an example of a 3 by 2 matrix. Okay, if I am just giving an example of 3 by 2 matrix, I can write it like this. 3 by 2 means how many rows? 3 by 2 means how many rows? How many rows will be there in a 3 by 2 matrix? Yes, 3 rows. 3 rows will be there. Say 2, 3, 1. Am I right? Can I write like this 3 by 2 matrix? 2, 3, 1 in the first row. If I am writing like this, is it correct? 3 rows and how many columns? How many columns are there? 2 columns. Therefore, will this element come here? Will this element come here? No. See, 2 columns are, no, yes. There will not be any this element. Only 2 columns are there. Got it? For 5, 9, -1, 2. Got it, Arshad? There are 2 columns, first column, second column, and 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. So can you give me the element A22? Can you give me the element A22? Which is the element A22? Of this matrix, which is the element A22? A22 means the element which is coming in the second row, second column. Second row, second column. Which is that one? Yes, second row and second column. Second row, second column. Only 9 is there, right? Second row is mean, and also second column means it intersects here and the element is 9. Got it? Got it, Muhammad? And what about A12? What about A12? 1 means first row. But look at the first row. And second column, just look at the second column. Where it is intersecting? Yes, it is 3. A12 is 3. What about A21? What about A21? A21 means second row, yes, first column. Therefore, the intersection is 5. A21 means the element is 5. I think you have understood how to represent a matrix, isn't it? If it is so, then I can, one more thing, I can just give you one more example. Here, please find out A23. Please find out A23. Before that, can you just tell me how can I designate this matrix A? How can I designate this matrix A? How much rows and how much columns? If I am writing X cross Y. X cross Y means what is X? What is Y? X represents the number of rows, Y represents the number of columns. Yes, therefore it is a 2 by 3 matrix, right? 2 rows and 3 columns. There are 2 rows and 3 columns. Can you agree with Arshad Muhammad? Can you agree with him? 2 by 3 matrix? Yes. Therefore, just tell me what is A23. Just tell me what is A23. Yes, A23, Arshad says it's 5. Can you agree with him, Mohammed? Can you agree with Arshad? He is telling that the element A23 is 5. A23 means just see. 2 stands for the row. Yes, 2 stands for the row. Yes. 3 stands for column. 3 stands for column. For second row means this one, right? Second row you have selected this one. And 3 means the third column. Am I right, Mohammed? Therefore, this is the third column. Okay? Therefore, where it is intersecting, second row and third column, where it is intersecting? It is intersecting at 3. It is intersecting at 3. Therefore, the element is not 5, it is 3. Got it, Arshad? I think you have made a mistake there. Yes, therefore the answer is 3. Is it clear now, Mohammed? How to find out the element? Yes. What about Arshad? Is it okay? Okay, fine. Now, there are different terms like a rank of a matrix, a determinant, and these are very important regarding different engineering problems. That I think you are from one of you are from computer science, right? Computer science. Anyway, you might have done programming. You might have learned programming C or C++, etc. Yes, electronics and communication. There also, I think there is programming languages. You need to study some programming languages, isn't it? C and C++. Have you studied any of these? Yes. There you might be having this application of metrics. For this programming language, etc., you are entering the values in the form of a matrix, isn't it? And all the solution of these programming languages, etc., are based upon some of the methods which are developed based on this matrix. The matrix is having a vast area of applications, not only in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, in solving network problems in electrical engineering, etc., we are using metrics, isn't it? I think you might have done this. Network problems using matrix solution. There we are solving these metrics using different methods like Gauss-Seidel, Gauss elimination, etc., which we shall discuss how to do it. And one of the important terms in here is eigenvalues and eigenvectors. It is finding very important applications in vibration problems, in electrical problems, etc. Okay, that we shall learn while we discuss the matrix. So it is a much easier section. Matrix is a very easy section. You can score marks very easily once you understand how to eliminate these things, how to transform a matrix. And of course, you are having some of the applications in your calculators also. I hope all of you are having calculators, isn't it? In the calculators also you can feed the matrix elements into the calculator, and then there can be solution, determinant calculation, transpose, etc. can be done within the calculator itself. You can say save time in this area. Okay. So next one is ordinary differential equation. That is how to form an ordinary differential equation, how to solve them. These are the two areas. First one is formulation of a problem in the form of a differential equation, and then we will go on to the solution of this. That is homogeneous solution as there, then simple ordinary equation is also partial differential equation. For this part is actually a continuation of the first section that we have seen here. This section, once you know these sections, the remaining section will be based upon this one, that is partial derivatives, etc., where we will solve some of the problems related to this. And coming to the last part of the mathematics course, you are having numerical methods. And nowadays all of the projects, every industry, any industry you take, there will be many simulation softwares available, isn't it? Testing softwares available for equipment testing. Now we are not going for say experimental methods more often. We are just simulating the actual experimental thing in a system and simulating it within the system. Am I right? The simulation softwares are gaining more importance nowadays because it is very simple, and also we can keep up the time can be saved, and also materials can be saved when we are simulating everything inside the system, and all these work based upon these methods, numerical methods. These numerical methods form the basis of all these softwares. Why to take these softwares? Just take our calculators. Just take our calculators. They are working based upon these numerical algorithms or numerical methods. They are not. We can do integration, differentiation, etc. in our calculators, isn't it? Am I right? You can do differentiation. There are functions for these. Yes, for scientific calculators, there are integration, differentiation functions are there, and we are getting the result not as a direct result. This is not an analytical result, mind you. They are only the numerical methods by which we are getting the solution. So we will just have a brief basic introduction, or we will just step into a vast area of numerical methods and just study about some basic methods of numerical differentiation and integration. It is very important, and it is very helpful also in your future when you are trying to do some projects. It will be of great benefit for you, these numerical methods. And the last one is probability and statistics, having a vast amount of applications in a day-to-day life. Say in business administration, in any type of industry you take, we are having a large amount of data, say x1, x2, x3, etc. In experiment, if you are doing some experimental thing, there also you will be having different temperature values, pressure values, etc. For all these data, whether they are of any say laboratory or any industry or any other management sector also, these all data have to be collected, and you need to analyze this data. That is, data analysis is mainly done on the basis of statistics. There are different statistical softwares available. All these softwares are based upon this theory part of these are what we will be discussing in the section probability and statistics. Therefore, this course, as you can see, the name of this course is nothing but the engineering mathematics. It is not simple mathematics that we have learned from the 1 to 12, but it is more of you can say that it is engineering oriented mathematics. We are studying this course so that we can apply it in our specific engineering fields. Okay, that means it is having more of physical relevance, this course. Okay, I think you have got a brief idea regarding the syllabus. Am I right? Yes, Mohammed. So this is the syllabus that we need to cover, and we will be covering the four. What I plan is we will be covering each section, and I have already made some tutorials, and after we cover each section, on that specific day itself, the last half an hour, we will spend time in discussing these tutorials. These tutorials means it is nothing but a set of problems asked from that specific area. For example, if I am covering in the next class these three sections, that means I will be say uploading these problems also, and based on whatever we have learned in that class, at the end of that class we will try to solve these problems. Okay, so that whatever we learn we can cover it up there and there and then itself, and then move on to the next section in the next class. Is that clear? So I am just splitted up the total. I am trying to split up the total syllabus into say 10 or 10 to 15 tutorials. So these tutorials consist of problems which are asked previously in your exam, AMI exam. Okay, so that you will get an introduction to what kind of questions you can expect in your exam, and you will be familiarizing with the type of problems that are asked, so that it will be easy for you to do the problems at the time of exam. And I expect you to complete these questions also, and I think it is better to keep a notebook for the subject. Whenever I am discussing the class, you can just take some rough notes, etc., and the problems you can try to solve along with all of you. We can try to solve it, so that you keep on solving at the time of the class itself. We need not wait for some other day or some other time to do it. Okay, am I clear to you? Yes. So, let me ask you some general things. That is, have you have you heard about pi, the term pi? Yes? Yes. What is the value of this pi? What is the value of this pi? Yes, it is 22 by 7. 22 by 7. See, how did you get this value? 22 by 7, or it is 3.14, etc. It keeps over occurring. What is how do you get this pi? No. Okay. What is this circumference? Do you know what is this circumference? Circumference. It is related to. It is related to circle, isn't it? Related to circle. Yes, related to circle. Oh, before that, perimeter. What do you mean by perimeter? Yes, if I am taking a rectangle, no. If I am taking a rectangle of length A and breadth B, then what is the perimeter? What is the perimeter of this rectangle? A into B. A into B means, actually what does A into B indicate? A into B, if you are doing A into B, that means you are getting this section. Am I right? A into B means this much section you are getting. Clear? Yes, that is length into breadth. That gives you what? This much, what you call this much section? This is the area, right? This much portion. If I am taking this whiteboard, of this much portion is known as the area. Got it? This is known as the area. Therefore, what is the unit of area? What is the unit of area? If the unit of this length is meter, breadth is meter, then what will be the unit of area? Length unit is meters and breadth unit is meters. Then what will be the unit of area? Unit of area will be meter into meter or meter square. Got it? Yes. Now, perimeter means it is if I am having a fence, that is a plot of land, okay? If I am having a plot of land, for whatever region it occupies, that represents the area of that plot. This is the area of the land. But if I am just measuring the boundary, that is from this point A to B, what is the length? B to C, what is the length? C to D, what is the length? D to A. I am just measuring the boundary. Okay. That is length AB plus BC plus CD plus DA. This is the length of the boundary, I can say. Am I right? Am I right, Mohammed? Length of the boundary of the plot. So if this is L, this is B, I will get it as L plus B plus L plus B. That is equal to 2 into L plus B. Am I right? 2 into L plus B. So this is known as the perimeter. Got it? This is the perimeter. So for a square, what will be the perimeter? For a square of side A, what will be the perimeter? 4A, right. Just add A plus A plus A plus A, 4A. Good. Now let me take the case of a circle. What is the area of this square? What is the area of this square? What is the area of this square? What will be this much area? This is A, this is A. So what will be the area? Yes, Arshad? Yes, A into A. Can you hear me? Yes, I think you were offline, isn't it? Oh, net problem. Okay. So we are just discussing some basics regarding perimeters. Yes, Arshad, do you know the what is meant by pi? Pi. Its value is 3.14. Again, he has gone offline, I think. Okay, then let us continue. So this is circle, and if this circle is having a radius r, then what about the area? What about the area? The circle is having a radius r, then what about the area of the circle? Do you know the area of the circle? Area of the circle is given by, yes, pi r square, right. Very good, pi r square. And in terms of diameter, how can I write diameter? Diameter d is equal to how much times radius? diameter d is equal to how much, right, times radius? 2r. Or r is equal to d by 2, right? R is equal to d by 2. Therefore, this can be written as pi into, instead of r I can write d by 2 the whole square, or you get pi d square by 4. Agreed? Pi d square by 4. Okay. So, if I am having a circle of diameter d, then how can I find out this much region? How much is this much region? This much region is the area, or pi d square by 4. Okay, this is pi d square by 4. Now, if I am measuring the boundary, will I able to measure the boundary? See, in the case of rectangle, I have measured, okay. In the case of rectangle, I have measured the boundary, right? And what did we call that? The total length of the boundary? What is meant by total length of the boundary? What is the name that we have given for the total length of the boundary of a section? Yes, perimeter, right. Therefore, here also, this perimeter I am measuring. So, perimeter of a circle is known as circumference. Okay. Perimeter of a circle is known as circumference. And here, if it was a rectangle, I could have used meter scale. Have you seen meter scale? Or tape, measuring tape, etc. We can use it, right? I can use the measuring tape, etc. to measure the length, straight line. But how to measure this curvature or the circular region? How can you measure the circular region? Is Arshad any idea? How can you measure the length of this boundary of a circle? It's difficult by time. Okay, what I can do is, I can have a thread. Okay. Yes, 2 pi r is the equation, right? Before that, that pi did not, how pi came into existence, that is what we are just discussing. Okay. So I can just take a twine or thread, okay, and just wind it from here to here along this circle. Got it? I have taken a twine or a thread or a rope. You take a rope and just wind it from one point till it completes the circle and reaches here. Then mark that 2 points on the rope, starting point and the ending point. Then take out the rope. You take out the rope, and with the help of a scale, you can measure it. Understood? With the help of a scale, we just keep the rope straight on a scale. From that, the distance between the markings will give you the perimeter or circumference of the circle. Is it clear, Mohammed? Yes, not from center. From any point, you just keep the rope at one marking. Then you wind the rope along the circle. So that other end of the rope, that end also you mark. Now you take out the rope and just straighten it. And keep aside a meter scale or scale, so that you can just measure the length of that between that two markings. That will give you the circumference. Okay, when if I am measuring the center to center central distance, means this gives you the diameter. When it is seen that if I am taking a smaller circle, a medium circle, or a larger circle, this length, that is, let it be C1, C2, C3, C represents the circumference. Okay. And if I know the diameter D1, D2, D3, and we see that C by D is a constant. That is, if it is a circle, then the circumference divided by diameter comes out to be a constant for whatever size of the circle. Got it? And that constant is equal to which constant? That constant is equal to the constant pi. Clear? If I am having a huge circle, means the huge circle, whatever circumference is there, C4 divided by that corresponding diameter D4 is equal to C3 by D3 is equal to C2 by D2, etc. For circumference, how can I write in terms of diameter? Circumference, how can I write in terms of diameter? From this you get C by D is equal to pi. So what will be circumference C? C will be equal to pi into C will be equal to pi into diameter. Got it? And again, how can I write diameter in terms of radius? How can I write diameter in terms of radius? Diameter in terms of radius. Diameter is equal to how much radius? Diameter is equal to 2r, right? So circumference can be written as 2 pi r. Okay. Now, do you know what is meant by the slope of a curve or slope of a line? Slope of a curve or a slope of a line? That is, you might have heard of dy by dx. Differential, dy by dx. Have you heard of this one? Slope or dy by dx. Yes. That is differentiation, right? Differentiation. That is, if y is a function of x, if I am writing like this, y is equal to a function of x. That means, say, y is equal to, say, x cube plus 2x square. Now, is this equation 1, from this equation 1, can I write y is a function of x? Y is a function of x. Equation 1, I have equation 1, y equal to x cube plus 2x square. So is y, yes, I have equation 1, that is y is equal to x cube plus 2x square. So can I write that y is a function of x? If the value of x change, will the value of y change? The value of x change. Yes, it will change, right? Therefore, y is a function of x. I agree. If I am having another function z, it is x square y plus y cube plus x raised to 4, then how can I write z? Z is a function of yes, z is a function of x and y. It is depending upon x and also on y. So here y is known as the dependent variable. Y is known as the dependent variable because it is depending upon, y value depends upon the value of x. Okay. The y value depends upon the value of x. And what about, how can I call x? What will be x? X will be the independent variable. Yes, x will be the independent variable. It can take any value. It can take any value, but whenever it takes any value, correspondingly there will be effect on y. That's why y is depending upon x. Okay. So, What is the equation of a straight line? What is the equation of a straight line? Yes, good evening, Habiba. Yes. Can you hear me? Yes, Habiba, can you just introduce yourself? Where are you from? What are you doing? Yes, actually, my name is S. Arun. I think you might be telling about Arun J. Sir, right? Okay, it's okay. Okay, so where are you from? You're from Hyderabad. Okay, fine. So, are you working somewhere? Okay, so you are doing the course, right? Yes. So, we have started the class about 50 minutes earlier. I think you can go through the recorded session, whatever we have done till now. We have just gone through the syllabus, what are the portions we need to cover, and now we are just discussing some basic concepts regarding mathematics. Okay. Now, equation of a straight line. What is equation of a straight line? If I am drawing a y-x graph, but usually we take the vertical axis as the y and horizontal axis as the x value. Okay. Therefore, if I am drawing a line like this, therefore let A be one line, B another line, and C another line. For which one is a straight line, A, B or C? Which one is a straight line, line A, B or C? Yes, I am having three lines A, B and C. So which one is a straight line? Yes, Mohammed? Mohammed also says is a C. A straight line means anything which joins any two points. It can be inclined also. Okay. Therefore, all these lines are straight lines. All these lines are straight lines. But what about C? You might be telling that C is a horizontal line, isn't it? C is a horizontal straight line. Like that I can tell. Got the difference? Yes, is it clear, Saida and Mohammed? Yes. Therefore, if I am drawing another line like this, D, is it a straight line? Is it a straight line? Yes, it is a straight line. And what about the characteristic? It is a which type of straight line? Yes, it is a vertical straight line. Right. So, if I am just having an equation, say y equal to x, say y equal to x, how will be the graph? How will be the graph? Y equal to x. For that, let us take the point. What will be this point? Usually we are denominating a point as xy, right? A point is usually denoted as xy. First is the x coordinate and second one is the y coordinate. Therefore, this is taken as the origin. What about the coordinates of origin? What will be the coordinates of origin? Yes, 0, 0, right, 0, 0. Now, for the condition is y equal to x. Whenever x, if I am taking x equal to 2, what will be the corresponding y value? What will be the corresponding y value? Y also will be 2. Therefore, from here it will be 2. Therefore, y also will be 2. Therefore, the intersection of these two lines will give you the corresponding point 22. Agreed? Okay. Now, what about another point? I can take, say, 5, x equal to 5 means y also will be 5. So it will be somewhere here. 5, 5. Therefore, the graph will be a line inclined like this. And can you give me the inclination? What will be this inclination? Y, this line indicates it is y equal to x. What about this inclination? How much will be this angle? Anyone? How much will be this angle? Yes, 45 degree, right, 45 degree. How did you get that 45 degree? Let us check. How did you get that? For that, let me just have give you an introduction related to trigonometry. Trigonometry. Yes, what does this trigonometry mean? Do you know the meaning of that word trigonometry? Trigonometry. So what does tri indicate? Tri means? Yes, tri means it indicates 3. Okay, 3. Gono indicates sides. Therefore, the figure with 3 sides is known as triangle, right? And metry means measurement. For the measurement of 3 sides of a triangle is known as trigonometry. Now, if I am taking a right angle triangle, A, B, C, according to Pythagoras theorem, what can you tell? According to Pythagoras theorem, what is Pythagoras theorem? So this is hypotenuse, right? This is hypotenuse. If I am taking this as an angle, the side opposite to this angle, is the opposite side, and the side adjacent to this angle is the adjacent side. Therefore, here can you just give me what is hypotenuse? Which one is hypotenuse? AB, AC or BC? Yes, AC. Opposite side is AB and adjacent is BC. Yes, right. AC square is equal to BC square plus AB square. Hypotenuse square is equal to opposite side square plus adjacent side square. So this is the hypotenuse theorem. Now, from this, can you give me what is sine theta? What is sine theta? Sine theta means you need to take opposite side. Yes, opposite side by hypotenuse. Therefore, it will be AB by AC. Okay, AB by AC. Now, what about cos theta? Cos theta is adjacent by hypotenuse. That is BC by AC. Now we define another tangent. Yes, tangent, that is tan theta is equal to, how can you define tan theta? it is defined in terms of sin theta and cos theta, or sin theta by cos theta. Okay, if you take sin theta by cos theta, you can see that AC will get cancelled, or you will get AB by BC, or opposite by adjacent. Got it? Opposite by adjacent. If you are clear with this, can you just tell me what is sin square theta plus cos square theta? What is sin square theta plus cos square theta? Yes, you might have studied this identity, right? 1. Can you just prove it? Can you just prove it? How can we prove this sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1? We have been learning from the lower classes this thing. If this is theta, A, B, C, then sin theta is AB by AC, cos theta is BC by AC. For sin square theta means AB square by AC square. Cos square theta means BC square by AC square. Therefore, if I am adding these two, sin square theta plus cos square theta will be AB square plus BC square. The whole divided by both denominators are the same. Therefore, it will be AC square. Am I right? Yes. Now, how come this term becomes 1? How come this term becomes 1? AB square plus BC square. How it will be 1? Yes, right. By Pythagoras theorem, you will get Pythagoras theorem. You can get AB square plus BC square is nothing but AC square, hypotenuse square. Therefore, it becomes AC square by AC square, or it will be equal to 1. Clear? Okay. Therefore, when you take this tangent, you can see that this is when you are taking tan theta. See, if I am taking a smaller triangle like this, A dash, B dash, will tan theta value change for this smaller triangle A dash, B dash, C and bigger triangle ABC? Will the tan theta value change? Will the tan theta value change for this smaller triangle and for this bigger triangle? Or for that matter, a sin theta, cos theta, will it be different depending upon the size of this triangle? Yes, will it differ? Yes, Saida says that it is different. What about you, Muhammad? Okay, both of you are telling that it will change, right? You just see, that is, this sin theta means it is opposite by hypotenuse. It is a ratio, right? It is a ratio. And if I am measuring this angle will be the same for all triangles. Am I right? Whichever triangle you take, is the angle changing? Is the angle changing for different triangles? No. Therefore, this sin, cos or any trigonometric ratio won't change. That means accordingly what is happening, you just visualize this one. Accordingly what happened to the, here the opposite side has reduced from AB to A dash B dash. But correspondingly what happens to the hypotenuse? If I am taking sin theta, this for the larger one it is AB by AC, and for the smaller one it is A dash B dash by A dash B dash by A dash C, and you can see that A dash C also has changed. both numerator and denominator has reduced, but the ratio remains the same. Got it? Yes. So this is how we define trigonometric ratio based on angles, that is sin theta, cos theta, tan theta, etc. And I think you know the inverse also of a reciprocal of these terms also. What is 1 by sin theta? What is 1 by sin theta? 1 by sin theta is cosec theta, and 1 by cos theta is sec theta, and 1 by tan theta is cot theta. Okay. So, shall I ask you one question, that is, what is cot theta tan theta? What is cot theta into tan theta? Yes, it is 1. Tan theta, cot theta means 1 by tan theta. Therefore, if you are multiplying this means this get cancelled and it will be equal to 1. That is equal to sin theta, cosec theta, and that is equal to cos theta. Yes, can you just complete? Cos theta into cot theta tan theta is equal to 1 is equal to sin theta cosec theta is equal to cos theta into yes, in order to get 1, what I should multiply with? Yes, cos theta into sec theta, right. So all these are inverse, or the not inverse, the reciprocal of these trigonometric functions. Therefore, if you multiply these two, we will get the product as 1. Yes, is it clear to both of you? Okay. Now let us come to the slope, or which is known as, we usually refer it as dy by dx. So we will be learning in this course very much equations, more and more equations related to differentiation, and it is very simple once you understand what exactly these terms mean. Let us take a graph. So this is the variation. Okay, yx. Suppose this is point 1 and this is point 2. And here I have denoted it by x1, y1. Here it is denoted by x2, y2. Okay. Therefore, correspondingly, what is the coordinate here? Can you give me the coordinate at this point on the y-axis? On the y-axis, is there any x value? Is there any horizontal distance moved on the y-axis? If I am taking this y-axis, what is the value of x? Here, what is the value of x and y? At this point, x is 0, y is also 0. So at this point, what about x and y? Yes, here the value of x is there any horizontal distance? No, right? On the y-axis, what about? Yes, it is not 1, 0. First we write x value. X is 0, but y is 1. Okay? Yeah. Now, what about at this point? So I can write here 0, and what is the corresponding y value? Y value is y1. Therefore, this point is 0, y1. Therefore, what about this point? Point 2. On the y-axis it will be? On the y-axis it will be? Yes, 0, y2. Got it, Mohammed? This is a plot between y and x. That is, this y and x means it is a plane, isn't it? This is the xy plane. This whiteboard, this is the plane which I am discussing. On this plane, if I am just plotting a point, means how much coordinates it has, how much coordinate it has? it has got two coordinates. It has got a x coordinate and also it has got a y coordinate. Then only I can refer to it as a point in two dimension. This is what is meant by two dimension. Suppose you can just look at your corner of a room. If you are sitting inside a room, you can just have a look at the corner of a room. Therefore, this is the floor space, isn't it? This is the floor. So this floor is a which type of space? Two dimension or three dimension? Just our floor or ground. Yes, it is two dimension. Here I can refer to it as y and this is x. Just look at the corner of your room. You can see that in the wall there is a component like this. Am I right? At the corner of your room. Yes. For that I can refer to it as z. So this is the wall, right? Here is the wall of your room and this is the floor. If I am just taking the floor, that represents the 2D, two dimensions. Only two dimensions are necessary to locate any point. I can locate any point based upon this x and y. But if I am moving up, if you are just holding a pen in your hand, that you are holding inside this room, am I right? Inside this room, that is known as space. So in order to locate your pen in your hand, how much dimensions I need? If the pen was just kept here, kept on the floor means the pen was just kept on the floor. Is there any height needed to specify the position of the pen? No. Therefore, what about z value there? What about z value there? Z value is 0. Okay, z value is 0. Suppose you are just lifting up this pen from here to here. In that case, you need, I think you are getting it. I am not able to draw it properly. I hope you are understanding it. Okay, when you are just lifting up, just moving the pen vertically upwards. That means you need y, x coordinate, y coordinate and also z coordinate. Is it clear? Yes, z coordinate also. Therefore, a point in space, you need three coordinates to specify it. Got it? You need three coordinates to specify it. And we call this type of specification as Cartesian coordinate system. Cartesian coordinate system. Got it? Cartesian. Cartesian system for representing any points. Is it clear up to here? Okay. Now, let us come back to the slope. That is, when I have moved from point 1 to point 2, there is change in y. Is there any change in y alone or is there any change in x also? Here the coordinates, how can I write this coordinate on the x-axis for point 1? How can I write the coordinates for x-axis? Yes, it will be x1, 0. And for point 2 it will be x2, 0. Okay. So when I am moving from 1 to 2 in an inclined fashion, you can see that there is both change in y and x. Am I right? There is change in y and also in x. Suppose, say you just take any point, say a eraser, and you just push it along this direction. That is from point 1 to point 2. Just push it along this direction. This horizontally. In this case, is there any change in the value of y? Is there any change in the value of y? Is y value changing from point 1 to 2? No, right? Y is kept as a constant and you are just moving it. You are applying a force in which direction only? You are applying a force on the eraser, yes, in the x direction only. That's why it has moved in the x direction alone. Suppose you keep the say eraser to the initial position. Now you just apply a force in this direction. Therefore, the eraser will be moving in the vertical direction. Okay, in the vertical direction. Therefore, is there any change in x value? X is constant and y is changing. Now, with your two hands, you are applying the force both in x direction and also in the y direction. Okay, you just apply the force on the eraser with your both hands, that is x and y direction. In which direction will it move? In which direction it will move? Yes, it will move in an inclined fashion. Am I right? It will move in an inclined fashion. Therefore, the movement, yes, the movement is depending upon both x and y. Movement is depending upon both x and y. So from here to here, let the change in y, if it is say 0 y1, 0 y2, and here it is okay 0 y1 and 0 y2, and it is x1 0 and x2 0. So what is the change in y when it has moved from position 1 to 2? What is the change in y when it has moved from 1 to 2? Change in y, I can write it as delta y. Okay. Just change in y, I am writing it as delta y is equal to final value of y is y2, initial value of y is y1. So what is the change in y? How much is the change in y? Yes, from y1 it has changed to y2. Am I right? So how much is the change? y2 minus y1. Agreed? The change in y is y2 minus y1. And what about similarly, what about change in x? Initially the x position was x1. Now it has reached a position, say x2. Isn't it? Therefore, what will be the change in x? Yes, x2 minus x1. Is it clear, Mohammed? Not clear. Okay. 1 minute. Let me take some specific points. Say it is this point is 1 2. This point is 1 2 means what about x-axis? Here the point it will be 1 0, and here in the y-axis the point will be 0 2. Clear? So this is the initial position. Is it clear, Mohammed? Up to here? Okay. Now finally the body has reached say point 2, and the corresponding position is say 4 6. 4 6. So what about the x value? What about the x value? X value is 4 0. Am I right? On the x-axis the point is 4 0. And what about on the y-axis? Yes, please give me the value. On the y-axis it will be Yes, 0, 6. Right, 0, 6. Is it clear, Saida, up to here? Yes. So, here you can see that there is both change in y and change in x. What is the change in y? Delta y, how much is the change? Initially, the y value was 2. Finally, the y value has changed to 6. Therefore, change in y is y2 minus y1, that is 6 minus 2. Agreed? 6 minus 2. And similarly, what about change in x? What about change in x? X value was initially 1. Now it has moved to 4. How much will be the change? Yes, x2 minus x1, or this 4 minus 1, 3. Got it? Yes, right. Therefore, this ratio is known as the slope of the line. This ratio is known as the slope of the line. That is, if I am just considering a triangle like this is a right angle triangle. So what I have taken, this length, that is the vertical length or opposite side by, what is this one? Adjacent side. All of you agreed? Opposite side by adjacent side. And what is that one? Which relation it is? Opposite by adjacent. Yes, tan theta. Tan theta. Therefore, that is nothing but, what is the vertical direction giving you? You just look at this. What is the vertical line giving you? The change in y. How much y is changing? What about the horizontal line? That is giving you how much? X is changing, delta x. Got it? Vertical line indicates the change in y and horizontal line indicates the change in x. For delta y by delta x is known as the slope of the line. Delta y by delta x is known as the slope. How can you find out the slope? It is tan theta. If it is straight line means it is okay. You can find it out by taking, say, like this. This is theta. So tan theta is equal to delta y by delta x. I hope it is clear for you. Yes. Now, how this becomes dy by dx? This is a significant change in y and significant change in x. Okay, suppose I am just reducing it for a smaller interval. That means if there is a curve like this, okay, if there is a curve like this, in this case, I am just limiting it. Say, I am just limiting this thing. There is very small change in x. Okay, very small change in x. That is, I can say that x is almost tending to 0. Change in x is very small, or delta x tending to 0. In that case, if I am just taking the slope, that is, I can write it as limit delta y by delta x, that is the slope. Under what condition? The change in x is very less. Here the change in x is very significant, right? But if I am just taking a very small section here, very small section means delta x is almost 0. In that case, I can say it as dy by dx. Very simple. Just I have replaced delta by capital delta by small d. Here also capital delta by small d. That represents at a particular point. Okay, at a particular point. Therefore, if I am taking this point means that we have already seen here. What is the slope? Slope is a tan theta, right? Slope is tan theta. And how this tan theta, what is the full form of this tan? What is the full form of this tan? Full form of this tan is tangent. Okay, tangent. And I hope you know what is meant by tangent. What is tangent? If I am having a circle like this, if I am drawing a line like this, which is having a contact at a particular point only, the line which intersects the circle at a particular point, that is known as tangent. It is only touching the circle. Do you remember? You might have studied in lower classes. Tangent. Okay, how many tangents you can draw at a particular point? How many tangents you can draw at a particular point? Or for a circle, how many tangents you can draw? There are infinite number of say points. Therefore, infinite number of tangents can be drawn on the circle. Yes. Now, at a particular point, you can have only one tangent. At a particular point, you can have only one tangent. Got it? When you are taking a circle, at a particular point, you can have only one tangent. You cannot have many. Agreed? Yes. Good evening, Karthikeyan. Yes, you can type your messages on the chat window. Yes, good evening. Yes, Karthikeyan, where are you from? What are you doing? West Bengal, working in BSF. Okay. So we are just doing some basic concepts regarding mathematics. We have already gone through the syllabus. You can go through the recorded session after the class so that you can get a good view of whatever we have covered. Okay. So regarding this derivative, if I am just taking a point, if I am just taking a particular point, if I am just taking a point, at that point, if I am drawing a tangent, at that point, if I am drawing a tangent, that tangent represents dy by dx at that particular point. That is at particular x naught, y naught. That is what is meant by differentiation. Okay. That is for dy by dx will give you the slope of the curve. Will give you the slope of the curve. Suppose you might have seen mountains, hills, etc. Right? Hills and valleys. For there is a mountain like this. If I am taking a mountain like this and a valley like this, at this top point, you can see if I am taking this section here at this top point, is there any change in x from this point to this point? Is there any change in x? Say from 1 to 2, I am just taking. What about, is there any corresponding change in x? Yes, a minute change is there, right? A small change is there. But what about y? What about y? A horizontal line means, what can you tell about y? Y is not changing. Agreed? Yes. Therefore, if I am calculating dy by dx at this point, dy by dx at this point. What about dy? Change in y is 0. Agreed? Yes, change in y is 0. Therefore, dy by dx is equal to 0 means, if dy by dx is equal to 0 means, I can tell that the curve has reached a maximum point. This is a maximum, right? You are at the top of the hill. You have reached a maximum point. Can I tell like that? If slope is equal to 0, I can tell that it is a maximum point. But before I tell like that, whether it is a maximum or minimum, I don't know. For that purpose, you look at this minimum point. Here also you calculate the dy by dx. What is dy by dx? There is change in x, but what about change in y? What about change in y? No change, right? So at this point also, if this is point A, this is position B. At B also, what do you see? Dy by dx equal to, what about dy by dx equal to 0? But is it a maximum point? Are you standing at the maximum position? Maximum height? No, it is a minimum point. It is a minimum point. Therefore, what can you conclude from this? What can you conclude from this? If slope is equal to 0, what can you tell? If slope is equal to 0, what can you tell? Yes, right. It can be a maximum or it can be a minimum. It can be a maxima or it can be a minimum. Agreed? All of you agree? If dy by dx equal to 0, that means it implies a maxima or a minima. Now, how can you tell whether it is a maxima or a minima? Whether it is maximum or minimum? How can you tell that one? Suppose here, from here, yes, let us check. Here you can see that y was a function of, y is varying as a function of x. Clear? Y is varying as a function of x. For f dash of x means you are differentiating y with respect to x for one time. Okay? F dash of x means it is the first derivative. First derivative. So I can write it as d by dx is the operator. Okay. D by dx means differentiating with respect to x. Which I am going to differentiate? I am going to differentiate y. For dy by dx. That is f dash of x. Got it? First derivative means I am differentiating y only once. I am differentiating y only once with respect to what? With respect to what you have differentiated? With respect to x. Okay. Now, if I am writing f double dash x, that means what? Here it is first derivative, therefore f double dash x will be, yes, this is first derivative, or I have differentiated it only once. So f double dash x will be second derivative. Just listen once more. Y is the function that is depending upon x. First derivative f dash x means I am differentiating y, d by dx of y. Okay. Second derivative means I am taking the derivative of, d by dx is the operator. I am taking the derivative of first derivative. Are you getting me? D by dx is the operator. Differential for d by dx of f of x, or f of x is nothing but y. Yes, d by dx of f of x or d by dx of y. Now second derivative means d by dx of f dash of x. That means d by dx of, what is f dash of x? What is f dash of x? dy by dx. dy by dx. Am I right, Muhammad? dy by dx. F dash of x is dy by dx. Therefore, it will be d square y by dx square. This is how you denote second derivative. D square y by dx square. Got it? That is, you can see here second derivative, which is operator d square by dx square. This is the operator. This is known as the second derivative operator. On which function you are doing the operation? You are doing the operation on y. That's all. Sometimes you may be confused how to write it. Dy square by dx, d square x, etc. It's not like that. All the operations are done on the function y. So y you have to remain it there. That you should replace it there itself. Keep it there itself. Clear? So first derivative means, please check. First derivative means d by dx is the operator. You are doing it on y. Second derivative means d square by dx square. Again you are taking it on y itself. Third derivative means d cube by dx cube. Again you are taking it out on y itself. Got it? Okay. Now why I have told you about the second derivative? That is the next question. Why we have discussed second derivative? That is, we have known here, when dy by dx equal to 0, we have found that the point can be a minima or maxima. The point can be a minima or maxima. Am I right? Yes. Now, I need to know whether it is a maxima or minima. So when you have reached here, suppose you are climbing up the hill. Okay, you are just climbing up the hill and you reach the maximum point. Now, when you again move in the horizontal direction, you are stepping down. Am I right? You are stepping down the hill. Yes? Yes. That means this dy by dx also, you should remember that this is also the tangent at that point. We have discussed this. It is a tangent at that point, tan theta. So I have drawn the tangent here. Therefore it is 0. Now slope of slope. Slope means dy by dx. Slope of slope means which derivative? D by dx of dy by dx means which derivative? Yes, second derivative. That slope of slope will be negative or positive at the maximum point. I am stepping down means what happens to y value? What is happening to y value? Is it increasing or decreasing? Yes, it is decreasing. Therefore, at this point, if d square y by dx square is equal to negative, what does that imply? What does that imply? If d square by dx square is equal to negative, what does that imply? Is it a maximum point or minimum point? It is a maximum point. Now you are at the maximum point, right? Understood. Okay, once I will explain once more. Now let us take the minimum point. Here also you have got dy by dx equal to 0. Now you need to check whether this is a minimum or maximum. Therefore you just find out d square y by dx square. And if you are from here, what you will get, you are just ascending, right? You are going up. So what happens to y value? What is happening to y value? It is increasing. Or d square y by dx square will be positive. Or slope of slope, if it is positive, then that point refers to it as minimum point. Okay. Now you know this graph. If you know this graph, means from the graph itself you know is this point minima or maxima. But that is not case with the problems. In the problems you will be having only the functions. You will be having the function y is equal to x cube plus x square minus 1. Okay. Then can you find out the point at which it will be maxima or minima? Find the point. Find the maximum point is the question. Maximum or minimum point is the question. How can you do it? First step is what one? Which one? First step you have to equate dy by dx equal to, for maximum or minimum point, what is the condition? Dy by dx equal to 0. First you find out dy by dx. How can you find out dy by dx? D by dx of what is y? X cube plus x square minus 1. Differentiate each term. What is d by dx of x cube? You have this equation, d by dx of x raised to n is equal to n x raised to n minus 1. Have you studied this one? D by dx of x raised to n is equal to n x raised to n minus 1. Therefore, what will be d by dx of x cube? What will be d by dx of x cube? Three? No, sir. You are just telling the integration. Yes. Yes, it will be 3x raised to 3 minus 1, right? 3x raised to 3 minus 1 means it will be 3x square. Okay. Yes. Therefore, what about the next one? D by dx of x square will be 2x raised to 2 minus 1 means 2x. Yes, 2x minus, what is d by dx of a constant? D by dx of a constant? 0. Okay, one more thing. Therefore, here you can take, this is 3x square minus plus 2x. This you can equate to 0 and find the value of x. Well, at that point of x, it can be minima or maxima. Again, you should differentiate it. D square y by dx square. You check whether that is positive or negative. If it is positive, means that represents a minimum point. If it is negative, means that represents a maximum point. Let us just simply once again see what is differentiation and what is integration in some simple examples. Differentiation and integration. Okay. Suppose I am taking a carrot. Say a carrot like this, and I am just cutting it into smaller pieces. Okay. For this smallest part, each part I can take it as dx, small part. Okay. If these parts I am joining it, if I am cutting it, means it will be different parts, right? If I am joining these parts together, finally what I will get? A carrot was there, I have made it into smaller pieces, and afterwards I am trying to join these pieces. If I am joining these pieces, means I will get the total object, right? Yes, the total length. So if x was the original length, I I have divided it into smaller pieces dx. So that is differentiation. And if I am joining this dx, that is I am just integrating all this dx, what I will get? X. Got it? Yes, this is just a simple linear case. If it is curvical, cubical, etc., means you need to have x dx, that will be x square by 2. If it is x square dx, means it will be x cube by 3, like that. So this is the basic thing connecting all these things. Clear? So we'll look into these sections, have some more physical insight into this as we go on discussing this. Okay, so I think we can wind up for today. So please feel free to ask if there is any doubt. Is the class understandable? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to convey to you? Yes, Mohammed, Saida and Karthikeyan, of course you came at the last part of the class. Anyway, are you able to get me? Okay. So if there is any doubt, means you please stop me in between. We can just discuss. Yes, we will be covering the whole syllabus. And I have explained into you how we will be approaching the total course. That is, there are different sections in this course. And suppose I am covering this section in the next class, means at the end of this half an hour we will spend for tutorials. That is, this tutorial means this will consist of those problems which were asked in the previous exams. Okay, which will be asked in the previous exam. And we shall discuss it, and you should keep a notebook. You should do at that point of time itself. A book for this syllabus, there is no one book is not there. It is you can Gravol is there. Anyway, we will be providing you with notes that will be enough for you to take up this course. Okay. So tutorials will consist of problems, previously asked problems, and we shall discuss how to do it, and we will be solving some of the typical problems. And the remaining you should do it and just take a scan or take a photo and send it by mail before the next class. That will be how we will be proceeding, because unless and until you practice problems, this course will not be beneficial for you. So I expect your full cooperation from your side, and I think we will be able to cover this in well advance. Sometimes we might go for extra class. And what about the timing? When shall we fix the timing? Is this okay? 7 to 9 Friday? Okay. So please try to come to the class at the correct time so that you don't miss the live class. And also those who have missed the earlier part, you just go through the recorded session. It will be available by tomorrow morning. Okay. So thank you. Good night.